Riley, of course, that is exactly what we are talking about with Ronnie Richter of the Bland Richter Law Firm. Will, in fact, this happen tomorrow? This prediction, this presumption that Alex Murdaugh will, in fact, take the stand in his own defense. Ronnie, you have said from day one that you did not believe that he would. We ask you immediately if you've changed your opinion in any way, and you say
no, he can't do it. He is innocent. All right, and the jury cannot infer anything from his lack of testimony. The only thing that could come from this is that he talks his way into jail, because when you put somebody on the stand, you introduce into the trial the credibility of that witness. Right? That is not an issue right now. So if he testifies and if the jury perceives that he's dishonest, then he's being dishonest about the charge of murder. That's going to get him convicted.
Ronnie, let's start with what happened in court today. We heard the judge talk about whether he would, in fact, allow additional testimony, allow a full scope of the testimony regarding Alex Murdaugh's alleged financial crimes. Let's listen as the defense talked about this with Judge Newman.
What's the scope of cross-examination? And here he's charged with murder. He's not charged with financial crimes. He's charged with murder. And we're asking the court to limit the waiver of his Fifth Amendment privilege to the murder charges.
These matters, which go right to the heart of the credibility and, frankly, the extensive dishonesty of this defendant.
For the court to issue some blanket order limiting the scope of cross-examination, that's unheard of to me.
That's unheard of to me. That's what Judge Clifton Newman said. Are you surprised by the judge's decision?
No, 100%. That's unheard of to me. This feels like they're trying to set up a false narrative. That false narrative being Alex really wants to testify.
And this is something you also told us a couple of weeks ago. You predicted that they would say he really wants to, but then at the last minute that they might in fact pull back and say, but he will not because of the risk of cross-examination.
Yes, if it's not going to be fair, if we're not going to limit the examination, as much as he wants to tell us what happened, we're not going to let him testify. It feels like they're trying to set up that false narrative. They know better than to ask a question like that. That's not the way the rules are established. You call a witness, you subject that witness to cross-examination, the judge takes the objections real time. You don't ask for a permission slip in advance to say, I want you to tell them what they can and cannot ask after I put my witness on the stand. Mm-hmm. They know better.
Ronnie, let's just say that we are surprised tomorrow, as you've said, and Alex Murdaugh is on that stand. If he does take the stand, what needs to happen from the defense? What do they need to do? What does he need to prove?
Look, on the direct examination, he needs to stick the landing at a 10.0 in the Olympics for gold, okay? Mm-hmm. Imagine 24 eyes are on him, watching his every move. If he's not appropriately emotional at the right times, then he's lying. If he's too emotional, then he's faking. There's almost no way to do this right. And then if you survive your own examination from your own lawyers, then the cross starts, all right? So the direct examination culminates with him saying, I would never do this to Maggie and Paul. But the entire cross-examination becomes an examination of all the things that he has done that I'm sure he said he never would have done.
And you're talking about the allegations of fraud, deception, deceit against people he knew and who entrusted him as their attorney.
I mean, I never would have stolen from my best friends. I never would have stolen from my clients. I never would have lied to my family. I never would have consorted with drug dealers. I never would have developed a $50,000 a week drug habit. I never would have faked a roadside incident like I did with Cousin Eddie. It's ridiculous. His entire life has been a lie. And somehow they're going to convince a jury that on this most important matter, I'm not lying now. They cannot let him take the stand.
Okay, we of course will watch very closely and see what happens tomorrow. Let's talk about something else that Riley Benson talked about, and that was the attention of the jury. Is this trial going on long? Might there be some degree of disinterest at this point? Is this wearing them down?
I think it is. I mean, there is fatigue. You do have to worry about it. But what you don't know is, what is the one thing that they've seized on? There's so much to choose from. And you don't know where the jury is now. So if you're the defense, you just have to marshal on and keep that defense coming. Attack the motive, attack the forensics. That's what they did all day today. That's what they should do all day tomorrow.
Let's also talk about the jury fatigue, if that is in fact happening. Does that work to the advantage of the defense in any way?
To me, the last thing I'd want to do is wake them up right now. If they're falling asleep, I think that's beneficial to me. If you put Alex Murdaugh on the stand, they're going to wake up immediately.
All right. Ronnie Richter, thank you again for your insight. And we, of course, will look and watch very closely tomorrow to see if, in fact, Alex Murdaugh takes the stand. Stay with us.